Hello, welcome to Triggered Care. Today's video is a story time. I haven't done one of those in a little while. And this is about the time that I stayed, well, ultimately it's about the time that I stayed with a crisis family after a family debacle that happened. So I'm going to tell you about that. So here we go. I've talked about this actually a little bit before, not the crisis family part, but the incident that led to me being sent to live with the crisis family for a day. Getting caught cutting myself by my mother with a dull kitchen knife. This is when I was talking, I think I mentioned it in my pain addiction video, but anyway, it was that night that kind of triggered all these events to happen. So I was sitting on my bed with the dull kitchen knife, trying my damnedest to break through the skin, which it wasn't working very well. And my mother walks in, and I try to hide the knife underneath my pillow that's sitting next to me on the bed. But she can tell that I'm hiding something immediately. And so she forces me to show her what's underneath the pillow. And eventually I show her, this is what's underneath the pillow. Can I go to youth group now? Because it was right before I was supposed to go to youth group, and my friend was picking me up. Well, my friend's sister technically was picking me up for youth group. And, she wanted to make a big fuss about it. And, she was more of making a fuss that I lied to her in the first place and told her that there was nothing under the pillow. And I'm like, just let me go to youth group. Everything will be fine if I can just go to youth group. Because I just wanted to get out of the house so freaking bad. I didn't want to stay there and deal with it. And so she let me run out to the car, and my friend drove me to church. I didn't tell them what was going on. But then 10 minutes later, after we got to church, my stepdad and my mother show up to pick me up, to take me to the hospital. Because my stepdad overheard the commotion and inquired about it, and my mother told him what was going on, because, she had the knife in her hand anyway, since she was bringing it back to the kitchen. And then he's like, well, we have to bring her to the hospital. Like, he had a very normal parent reaction, I think, versus what my mother wanted to do about it. So he came, he was the one driving, and my mother was in the passenger seat, and we're driving to the hospital. And my mom's just going off about, what did she do to deserve a child like this? And, can she really be that bad of a mother that, her kid's gonna be so troubled and all of this stuff? Pretty much just going on and on and on about how she doesn't deserve this and all that. I just sat in the back quietly, like, I don't know what's going on. I thought that they were going to take me to the cops. I thought that they were going to take me to the police station and have me put in a jail cell, because my mother would threaten that every so often, of, like, calling the cops on me and stuff like that. But we went to the hospital, and I saw a doctor, and the doctor was not a very helpful person. He looked at the cuts on the top side of my wrist, and he's like, oh, all those are really superficial, they don't go down that deep. And I'm thinking in my mind, yeah, because the knife was really fucking dull. Like, do you know how hard I was pushing on that goddamn knife to get through my skin, and it just wouldn't? But I didn't say that. I was just thinking it, and I was getting pissed off that he would say that it was like he was calling me weak. It was like, bitch, I'm not weak. I just had a bad blade to use, but whatever. And so, I talked to the doctor a bit, and then I think a social worker got involved, but I don't remember meeting a social worker. I just remember being told that I had to stay at a group home for a while and take a break from home. So I got sent to a group home for, I think it was a week or 4 days, something like that. And it was a nice enough group home, but you were alone a lot, other than doing the chores. And then I also had school that I was still going to too. And so I stayed at the group home, and I was going to school. And then at the end of the week, for the last night or whatever, they're like, well, we need to make room in the group home, so you're gonna go stay with a crisis family. And I'm like, okay, what's the crisis family? And it's like, well, it's sort of like a foster family, but it's only for a night because, for whatever reason, it's mandated that you're out of your house for a week after an incident like that or something. I have no idea what those laws are or what that time period is, but you're gonna spend the night at this family's house. And so I'm like, okay. And I was kind of nervous because families. And so they drive me to this crisis family. And I showed up like later at night. And so it was this older couple. And the thing is, I don't even remember their names. I know that they told me their names, but that was a while ago now. That was like, I don't know, 11 years ago, 12 years ago. But they told me their names, and they were like this elderly couple, and I had my own room at their house. They had a room for kids, or for whatever kids they took in, and I remember the room had this computer. It had a computer in the room, and it also had like a Zen garden type thing with sand. And before I went to bed, the woman was telling me, sometimes people just need breaks from their families, and that's okay. And she was just offering some comfort that I'm not used to receiving at all. And so I'm like, okay. And then I went to sleep, and I woke up nice and early to get ready for school and all that, and breakfast was a turning point in my life. And I know that that sounds really dramatic, but this little interaction that I had kind of broke through all my barriers in a way that rarely, if ever, happened before. So I woke up for breakfast, and I go out. Well, first I nervously wait a bit in the room because I don't know what's going on, and then I go out to eat breakfast, and they had already made me some breakfast, and they got me a glass of juice out, and so I'm like, oh, okay, they remembered that I was here, that's good, and I thanked them for the breakfast and all of that, and now I'm gonna choke up because this part of the story always makes me choke up. And then after, I'm eating breakfast, and the man of the house, the crisis family dad, asked me, how school was going. And it hit me like a ton of bricks of, why would he want to know about how I'm doing? Why? I'm not worth the time of day to ask questions like that. And so, I'm like, oh, it's going good or whatever. And he's telling me that it's going to be okay. And, I'm a good kid. Pretty much all the stuff that I've never heard from a parent type. And I remember something in my brain switching at that moment of, you don't have to be the terrible person. People aren't immediately gonna hate you just because of who you are. And I don't know why, and I've talked about this memory a handful of times, and it still makes me cry like a baby when I think about it, because their compassion towards me really sparked that thing in my brain where it's like, life can be different. There are people out there who are good people who will care about you when they don't have a reason to care about you. The world isn't this dark space that you were raised to believe that it was, that people hate you and they're trying to get something out of you, and you're a piece of shit, so it's not even worth the try. And just this simple having breakfast with these two people and them asking me about my day and them telling me that I'm a smart girl and I'm gonna be okay. I think they helped me be okay. I think they sparked that light in my head where it's like, I don't have to live like this forever. And granted, I was still stuck in that house for 3 years. I still went through hell after that. It's not like they fixed all my problems, but what they provided for me was an example of compassion, an example of what I could experience in the future, where I didn't really have clear examples of that. I mean, there were a couple times during my childhood where there were sparks like that, like in my Child Heroes video talking about teachers, and my kindergarten teacher pointing me out and giving me an extra feather versus all the other kids in the class because I was quiet and I listened. And it's just that spark of that person cares about me, even though they don't know me that well. I'm not just emitting this repulsive aura off of me. I'm not a repulsive person. And I think that's what makes me cry, is those feelings of not feeling like a repulsive person, especially the early ones, the earliest feelings of I'm accepted and I'm cared about, are the hardest to process, because it makes you look at your life in contrast of why was that so touching to me? Why was that so important to me? And it's because of the big void that was at home, because that environment was not at home. Just even my mother's reaction to me cutting myself, where she turned it all about her and what did she do to deserve a kid like this and all of that. That is not an appropriate reaction to your child cutting themselves. You know? And even before that, she saw my cuts before that. She didn't tell my stepdad about it then. She saw my cuts after that. She didn't tell my stepdad about it then. Like, she doesn't have that human compassion element to her. And when I experienced that outside of the house, especially with other adults while I was a child, those little tiny sparks of compassion and caring took me such a long way, and it helped me find recovery, I think, faster than I would have if I hadn't had those experiences of human compassion. So, okay, that one was kind of sad. I'm sorry for the sad story time, but I was talking to my therapist about this yesterday, and it just made me think about it a lot. And also, I want to make a video for those people. I don't even remember their names, but I know that they're good, genuine people who, even if it was just for an hour, they changed my life. And they helped move me towards recovery. And that's the thing, is the smallest acts of compassion can propel someone towards a better path of living and open their eyes to the world is not just shit. The world also has these beautiful people in it that make you feel special and make you feel cared about. And that's what life is for. It's for living for those people and perpetuating that yourself if you can, of putting your own compassion out there and being a light for other people who are stuck in your position or even worse positions or better. It doesn't matter. Just people who are in pain, who need compassion. So that was my story time. I'm sorry it was more of a somber one. I'm going to try to do funnier story times. But I needed to make a video for them because they're amazing people. And I know that a lot of you are amazing people like that too. And so thank you for all of you for showing your compassion and helping people out, because that genuinely makes my heart glad. Even just hearing about it and just knowing that it's happening and knowing that there's people like that out there. And those people are my inspiration for continuing on, for making YouTube videos, even for my recovery, for everything that I'm working towards. Those people are the inspiration for that. So, all the links for all this stuff are below. My Facebook, link for the channel, the Discord links, CPTSD, and my Triggered Care Discord, along with my email in case you want to email me your story for me to make a video about or just talk to you about. So yeah, have a good one.